Okay, so today we're going deep on the Aptos Foundation.
Right.
You brought their website to my attention,
Yeah.
and I think it'd be really interesting to take a look at what they're all about, what their objectives are, how they plan on achieving them.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Aptos Foundation is one of the more interesting organizations in the blockchain space right now.
For sure, for sure. And just jumping right in. They state that their mission is to support the growth and decentralization of the Aptos blockchain and foster a vibrant ecosystem.
Yeah, a very common mission for these types of organizations.
Yeah, and we see this a lot.
Um,
But how are they actually structuring their efforts?
right. So they're really focusing on three core pillars.
Okay.
The first one is what they call core development.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really all about the nitty-gritty technical aspects of the blockchain.
Right, improving the blockchain itself.
Improving the blockchain itself, yeah, exactly.
So what does that look like for them? I mean, we all want a better blockchain. How do they propose to do that?
Well, they don't give a ton of detail on the website, but
Okay.
the language that they use is suggestive of commitment to constantly improving the blockchain.
Yeah,
So, maybe that's increasing transaction speeds,
sure.
maybe that's improving network stability.
Mm-hmm.
But, they talk a big game about improving the chain.
Right. They want to make better, which I think everybody wants.
Yeah.
Now, the second pillar that they talk about is ecosystem growth.
Right.
So you've got this great technology, but how do you actually get people to build on it and use it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of blockchains, struggle with this.
Uh-huh.
So you have to think about it like, incentivizing developers to come build on your chain
Right.
and providing them with the resources they need.
Give them the tools, the documentation, even grant funding
Yeah,
to
potentially.
encourage people to,
Yeah.
come and play in their sandbox.
Yeah, exactly. And in a space that's, as crowded as layer one blockchains are right now, you really do have to offer those incentives to developers.
Yeah, competition's huge.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's ecosystem growth.
Mm-hmm.
Their third pillar is community engagement,
Right.
which I feel like every organization talks about these days.
Yeah.
But why is it so important in the blockchain space?
Well, I think in the blockchain space particularly, it's about fostering a sense of ownership over the project.
Right.
In a way that you don't see in traditional, tech companies.
And it's not just, marketing and getting the name out there.
Right.
It's actually getting people involved.
Exactly. You want people to be, active participants in the community.
Yeah. Users, developers, just, enthusiasts.
Exactly. And so that means, doing things like organizing events,
Uh-huh.
creating educational content.
Yeah, providing forums for discussion.
Yeah, definitely. And that all really contributes to a stronger community, which is going to help them in the long run.
And I think that also ties into this concept of decentralization,
It-
which you mentioned earlier, and, we talk about it all the time, but it really is kind of the end goal for a lot of these projects.
It is. It's kind of the holy grail of blockchain.
Right. And how does the Aptos Foundation's work tie into that?
So, when we talk about decentralization, we're talking about distributing control.
Yeah. No one person or entity controlling the network.
Exactly. And I think you can see how the foundation's focus on, community engagement and, growing this diverse set of developers and node operators
Right.
really does tie into that goal
It's all about, giving power to the people.
in a way. Yeah.
And one thing I think that's really important for us to remember as we're looking at all this information on our website,
Yeah.
this is,
This is their perspective.
it's their account of what they're doing
Yeah.
and what they're hoping to achieve.
Of course.
So, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to see how they're, presenting themselves.
Absolutely.
So just to recap the Aptos Foundation, they want to make their blockchain the best it can be.
Yeah.
They want to attract as many users and developers as possible,
Mhm.
and they want to build this really thriving community,
Yeah.
all with the ultimate goal of becoming more decentralized.
That's right.
Now, I'm curious, for you, the listener, what do you think are the biggest challenges facing the Aptos Foundation
Yeah.
when it comes to achieving those goals?
Yeah. What are the things that are going to stand in their way?
What are the hurdles they're going to have to overcome?
Yeah.
They're talking about technical development, they're talking about ecosystem growth, community building, decentralization.
Right.
What do you think are going to be the biggest obstacles?
Definitely something to think about.
And maybe as you consider that, you can head over to the Aptos Foundation website, take a look around,
Yeah. It's definitely worth exploring further.
and see for yourself, what they're all about.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
on the Aptos Foundation. And we'll catch you next time.
See you later.